start with, the first time we went was about 20 years ago, and Marvin and I went, Paul, and then Nixie, who is now in Lafayette, went, and the four of us went to San Pedro de Macorís, and it was a church that had originally been built by the British because they had a lot of sugarcane plantations and they built these for their workers. And it was interesting to be at this church because when it started out, it was white and British. Now it was mixed and Spanish. And they still had two really elderly black members that were very, very British. And they came in their suit and their little vest and all of this and came to the service, and I thought to myself, what a change that must have been in their life, because these people had to be in their 90s. Anyway, what we did there, there was a school connected to the church. And it was reminiscent of the one, I grew up in Cuba and I went to an Episcopal school there, and this must have been built about the same time. It was no longer a school and we were turning it into a clinic. And so what we did was paint. We painted a whole room and so on. And if you want an adventure, go to the paint shop with Marvin. Because his version of Spanish is, put an A or an O on the end of it. I want to a mapo.
I've come a long way since. Ask Nancy.
But you know what's really funny is, what's really funny is he always ended up getting what he wanted. So anyway, and what's really pleasant to us now is to go back and see that this has been an operating clinic now for probably 15 or 20 years. Wow. And it's just very rewarding to see the hard work that we did. And of course, there were a lot of other people who worked too that made this clinic into reality. I've been back several other times. One year, I actually taught Spanish down there. And someone said to me, what are you doing this summer? I said, I'm teaching Spanish in the Dominican Republic. And this person said, I thought they already spoke. But what I was doing, I was teaching with a Dominican counterpart, a group of Americans who wanted to do missionary work in the Dominican Republic. And so we had this intensive, about 5-week course, and they lived in Dominican homes in which no English was spoken. And so believe me, after the 5 or 6 weeks, they were doing pretty well. One of them is now a member of the Dominican Development Group, and he may even be here to visit with us next October. The Dominican Development Group is a group that works in the Dominican Republic, a group of Episcopalians. And the Diocese of Western Louisiana has a companion diocese relationship with the Dominican Republic Episcopal Church. And the Dominican Development Group, which has people from, 15 or 16 states, get together once a year to talk about what they're going to do. And this next year they're going to meet in Western Louisiana. And David Morrow is probably going to come and visit with us, and you'll get to meet him. He's a delightful person, and he is a graduate of my 6 weeks in Spanish. Okay. I also went later. Late Bishop Hargrove was invited to be the convention speaker at the Dominican Convention. He didn't speak any Spanish. So I went with him, and I was his interpreter. And I told him, okay, say, Bob, you got to tell me what you're going to say because you don't understand. I don't know ecclesiastical Spanish. And so he wrote it all out, and I translated. And then he said, well, you realize that I wing it. And I said, you can wing it, but I'm saying what you said you were going to say. And the next day, we stayed in the hotel, we went downstairs, and the former bishop, the retired bishop, was sitting at the table, and he looked at me and says, oh, you are the lady who preaches. And I said, no, I don't preach. He says, you are the lady who preaches. So I must have done a pretty good job. Anyway, we went also and visited a lot of other churches, and I managed to do a lot of translating. It was a very, very interesting visit. And I've been back several other times since then. And of course, for the last 2 years, I've been going down there with a group from Clearwater, Florida. Now, the reason I've done that is that I was looking for a group from Louisiana, but nobody was going at the time when I could go. They say God gives you gifts, and you ought to use them. Heaven help you, my gift is talking. And my husband said I could talk too much in 4 languages. I've spent a lot of years proving him right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about this particular trip. And I never traveled, being a star of the classroom and the small screen, I never traveled without an entourage. And this is my entourage, Jake Ecker.
Hi, Jake.
Has helped me put all this together, the video together, because I don't have the equipment to do it. And then my other entourage is my grandson, Gunnar Bush, who is one of the stars of this production. Okay, now I will tell you that the other star, Josh, who also went with me, is sort of my stunt grandson. He lives at my house right now, but he liked it so much that when he got back, he signed up for a Spanish course in the Dominican Republic, and right now he's down there going to school, taking Spanish 5 days a week, 2 hours a day with a teacher who speaks no English. So he is really learning his Spanish. But you'll see him on this too. Okay, I'm going to start out and then we'll turn it on in just a minute. I think I said okay. I'm going to start out by telling you this. Have you ever watched a game show and they told you that the prize was an all-expense paid vacation to the Dominican Republic? Oh, yes, they could send you to Puerto Plata where they have these lovely beaches, or you could go in February to Samaná where the whales doing their thing. Or maybe your tour ship came into the Dominican Republic to the harbor where you could go out there and see the first cathedral in the New World, or the remnants of the first hospital in the New World, and one of the first universities in the New World, all in Santo Domingo, the capital. After all, Columbus did discover it before he discovered us. The Dominican Republic is also part of what they call Hispaniola, and the other half of it, of course, is Haiti, which is French-speaking. How such a small island could have 2 such diverse cultures is hard for me to understand. Anyway, what I was talking about is, these trips are wonderful, but that wasn't our trip. On July 19, my grandson Gunnar and my stunt grandson Josh and I flew from New Orleans to Miami to Santo Domingo, which is the capital, where we spent the night, and then we joined the rest of our mission team from Clearwater, Florida the next day. We went with them on a small bus to the city of Bani, about an hour or so away. Now, you will be seeing this in a little bit, but I want to just tell you about it first. And we arrived at the Caribani Hotel, where we would stay for a week. Now, this group has made this trip for the past 3 years, and in fact, I wasn't with them the first year when they actually built the church. But then they come back to do more and more work on it. And we always stay at the same hotel. Now, you've heard of 5-star hotels? This one was 2 moons. But it's clean, the food is good, and the people are honest. And occasionally you might have hot water. Okay, every morning at 7:45, the bus would arrive to take us to the work site, and you'll see scenes of that, in the little town of Pizarete. Now, Pizarete is on a river, and there was at one time, before they built the dam that stopped the flowing of the river and so on, they had a big chalk rock formation. And whenever anybody went out fishing or anything on the river, they would pull a little boat up and write their name on this stone in chalk, and when they came back, they'd wipe it off. And that's how they knew whether you'd made it back from your trip or not. Well, if you know any Spanish, what's the word for blackboard? Pizarra. Pizarra. And so this town became known as Pizarete, the town with a little chalkboard. Okay. when we got to Pisadete, which was about 30 minutes away, Father Ramon Hill and members of the Church of San Bernabe, which is St. Barnabas, would meet us. On last year's trip, we painted the church, which the group had built the year before, and we built the pews. This year, we went back to finish the work on the church, put sealant on the pews, and do roof work on several buildings. Now, the team is divided actually into two groups. It's a construction group and a vacation Bible school group. And I was with Vacation Bible School, and so I took as much picture as I could of the people who were doing the actual physical work, but I was pretty physically involved with 125 kids in this Bible school. So you don't see quite as much active work going on in this, but believe me, there was a lot of it. And the crew also worked at another church in the same town. So they were going back and forth. Gunnar was part of the construction crew, he and Josh. However, they also did a great deal to help us with the kids, as you will see. We had Vacation Bible School with 125 students. Now, they were divided into two groups, a morning group and an afternoon group. They were between the ages of 7 and 12. And as you'll see from the video, we had Bible lessons, crafts, recess, recreation, singing, clapping, and lots of noise. That's one reason why I wanted to take actual video this time. Last time I just did a slide presentation. Each day the ladies of the church prepared a good noontime meal for us, and we had a couple of hours to visit before the afternoon session began. As you will see in the video, two of our younger members, one of whom is present, went a little native during that period of time. So you can't wait to see, can you? And when the mission job was done, the team would return to Santo Domingo after a week. And then they had time to just be tourists. And the mission group only had like a day. The boys and I, at our own expense I'll add, stayed for 3 more days in Santo Domingo because I wanted them to see some more of the history of this area. So, on Sunday, the 27th of July, which was, the group had already left, the rest of us were there, we went with Dominican friends to a beach, but we went to the beach that all the locals go to. And that's interesting, especially since that Sunday happened to be Father's Day. And it was that same way the year before, and everybody came to the beach. Were there any people at the beach, Gunnar?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. And they had quite a good time. And as you'll see on the video then, I don't have any beach pictures, but then we had the 2 mandatory tasks for anybody who goes to the Dominican Republic. The first thing is, you have to go back to the Conde, which is the old historical area. You watch players playing dominoes. You do all kinds of things. You see where the, well, actually, I take it back. I've got myself. The first thing you do is you go to the Mercado Modelo. You go to the market, and you haggle for gifts that you're going to bring back to everybody. And they have this wonderful market there, and you'll see some pictures of the market. That's one of the tourist things. And the other thing, then, is a cultural thing. When you go down to the historic area, you see the home where Columbus's brother, who happened to be governor of Santo Domingo, lived. You see some very modernistic sculptures. This is where the ships come in, the tourist ships come in and let you out for a day trip into the Santo Domingo. And then, after we did all of that, we went to a cafe. And you'll see how that all worked out. Anyway, I think it's about time to show our show. I think we probably need to dim the lights a bit. And get my sheet.
slow plane here.
Oh, the flight is only 2 hours. But we had a 5-hour wait in Miami. Here we are. We're in the Dominican Republic. Now, you have to see what it was like last year. That's Gunner's brother. This is what it looked like last year. And our job last year was to paint all that. Now, we arrived in Santo Domingo first, and these are one of the monuments. And there I am sitting with Josh, looking, and this is just some scenery. Every place there are guards, armed guards. In the park they had armed guards. Everywhere. And this is welcome to Bunny. This is a town that we were working out of. This is our hotel.
A lot longer hair than.
Yeah. That's our meals with El Presidente on the. And this is what we rode in. This year we had a little bus. Last year it was pickup trucks. Actually, this bus was air conditioned. This is Father Ramon greeting us all. And this is the church. And the painting crew gets all their stuff out. They have to bring their own generators and things. And you can see the church has now been painted. And this is when the education building, they had to seal the roof to it, and there is Gonzalo at work. That ladder was rigged. I mean,
They took apart a fence and then
yeah,
put a ladder over it.
it took part of a fence to build a ladder. So now they took all the pews out. They had been painted and stained. Now they had to seal them. Crew did, and this is our group planning the Vacation Bible School, and these are supplies that we got put together. 2 of the ladies from the Georgia area were helping with the supplies, and here I am trying to teach. And there's some others trying to teach. And the kids loved coloring, they loved singing. They didn't love sitting still in the pews. And they loved getting their picture taken. Trying to get them all name tagged, correct. This is the bishop's wife on the left. She came to visit us. Now here we took some pictures. They all want their picture taken. They made fish for one class. And that's Vicky, one of the team, and 2 girls. They had a snack at the end of every class. While Gunner's painting the background, and hear that the snack is ready. And there they are going in to get their snack. And then they are standing, this is the older group, by a wall. That wall had glass in it to keep it from coming over. Okay, they play games. That's the boys on one side, the girls on the other. You call out a number and they'd have to run. This went on for a while. I think this is very funny. They're deciding who won.
He knew how to do it, didn't he?
There's a winner now.
Sometimes they get it work.
On the activity, can you guess which side won?
Girls.
But the boys really would rather play baseball. This is the land of Sammy Sosa, you know. And so this is where Josh and Gunnar helped a great deal. Everybody wanted to play. I think Gunnar said, you said they all wanted to
Oh,
play.
they were getting, I mean, of course, you probably saw them getting girls.
They did a lot of singing. These songs were all spontaneous. This was not planned. It was supposed to be, but it wasn't. So they took over the leadership and did this themselves.
Are these neighborhood kids or
And this is the kids that came to the,
That
yeah,
just
most
came,
of them from
yeah.
town. Another game. They like this one because it makes a nice breeze when that parachute goes up. They're trying to decide what to sing. So this girl makes a decision. And they went native. I don't know where they got that idea, but they decided to have their hair braided.
Oh, it took a while. Probably 2 hours.
And they are so tall, they had to slump down in their chairs. So they were slumped for 2 hours. There's Josh slumped, and this, all the women giving each other advice. And the motorcycles in the background.
Well, is it the hairdo that makes y'all look so muscular?
That's what does it mean.
See the little old lady in that chair there? She's the one who started all this.
That was like it. There might be something else besides the hair.
But I know you rolled yours back in the day. Could be worse.
And at the end of the vacation Bible school, they give them their gifts. And they're the ladies getting them ready to hand them out as they leave. Get the kids in line.
Those kids didn't look impoverished at all.
No, but I'll tell you a little bit later through this. And then they're going down the street with themselves. No, they're very clean and they dress them as well as they can. Now here we are. Here I am with the lady whose idea this was. Here she is with the giants. And here, look at the priest. Remember the first picture of the priest with Manny? Okay. Here you have the priest with the other two giants. This time. He said, I'll take my picture, but come over here. And then they told us goodbye. Come on. Now, we went back to the big city, to Santo Domingo. The team eventually left, maybe the next day, but we stayed, and I wanted to show you, this is a road to the market. Can you see how steep those streets are? They have stairs. This is a marketplace inside, and this is some of the stuff outside. The guy's making empanadas, meat pies, and Gunner's enjoying an empanada.
I got a haircut.
And then they play dominoes all the time. They have a beautiful harbor and beach, of course, and this is where the ships pull up at the Conde. And this is the old part, the Conde. And in it, here are modernistic sculptures of the animals the Spaniards brought over. And there are two animals I brought over. And then we sat down in a cafe after 10 days, and we had what is probably the best product from the Dominican Republic ever. El Presidente. So that was the church where they came from, and then that's
Harriet, that was a great program.
well, wait, we're not through. Repeat after me. Alabaré. 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 A mí. Señor. Okay, let's praise God. Alabaré, 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 alabaré a mi Señor. Alabaré, 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 alabaré a mi Señor. Dios y todos alababan al Señor. Unos oraban y otros cantaban, pero todos alababan al Señor. He saw the name, the number of the redeemed, and they all were praising God. Some prayed, unos oraban, otros cantaban, some sang, y todos alababan al Señor. And then it goes on and says, no hay Dios tan grande como tú, no lo hay, no lo hay, no hay Dios tan grande como tú, no lo hay, no lo hay, no hay Dios que hace todas las cosas como las haces tú. I can't sing. And it goes on about there's no God that does anything better than you do. And then they say, ni con espada, ni con ejército. He doesn't do it with swords. He doesn't do it with an army. Pero con su Santo Espíritu. He does it with his Holy Spirit. It's quite a song. And everybody knows it. And the first time we went down there in 2013 with your brother, that's the only one they sang. And at the end of 10 days, they were going, no. The first one, yes, Ernie.
I'm surprised you didn't show any of the worship service.
Well, that first thing that you saw was the worship service. But I could only manage the kids and the camera and everything so much. You see, I wasn't supposed to be teaching. They do work this in combination with the Dominicans. And the Dominican ladies were supposed to be teaching and so on, but they were short one. And the two ladies in there, the two ladies from Georgia, one incidentally, the smaller of these women in that race was from Liberia originally. She's a priest. And then the other lady was her senior warden. And they go 8 or 9 years they've been down there. But they didn't speak any Spanish. And when we got the book that we were supposed to teach out of, it was very, very evident that it was way over the heads of these kids. And so what I ended up doing was bringing it down to their level. And so I ended up having to teach it in Spanish. And I wasn't expecting to do that. I have done my job. But it was good. Some of those children didn't know who Jesus was. And so they were trying to teach them about making followers for Jesus, and they didn't know who Jesus was. I don't know if you noticed on the benches, when they had the materials, we went over it kind of fast, but we were supposed to make clothespin Jesuses. And there was a clothespin and a little cloth, and you tied it in its sash, and then you could paint his face on. And one kid said, why are we making scarecrows?
How many days were y'all down there?
We were, the trip itself was 7 days. Then we stayed 3 more.
Yeah.
We stayed 3 more.
So y'all were there 2 Sundays.
Yeah, we were there 2 Sundays. Yeah, and I did take the boys, who both happen to be Roman Catholic, to the cathedral in Santo Domingo the last Sunday that we were there, so they could go to a mass at the first cathedral of the New World. And we did our church thing. Now, Gunnar, what did you think of this experience? Stand up and
Go to the front.
yeah.
We can all see.
How long did it take you to get all that braiding undone?
Did you just cut it?
Took some hard work, but it was only maybe 5 minutes. I put some conditioner in there and stuff.
Yeah, but they wanted to wear it to work when they got back. But
Yeah,
why didn't you?
I had a little internship over the summer, and I don't know if they'd have approved of it.
Well, he was with the Department of Transportation. I started to say the Department of Corrections.
I mean, they'd have kept it. But what I have to say about it, if anybody's considering mission work, even didn't have to be in the Dominican Republic, anywhere, in Texas, I would suggest anybody of any age to do it. It is moving. It really was life changing to see the impact that we made on these kids, and it gives you a whole new perspective. Going down there gives you a whole new perspective of what we have over here. Toilets with toilet seats that you can flush toilet paper down.
No, it's true. You can't down there. Your toilet paper goes into the waste paper basket.
To water you can drink, to being able to make $8 an hour minimum wage. These people make $100 in a month, and they support a family of up to 10. 'Cause, there's a birth control, like they don't they have large families down there. Anyways, yeah, it was a really great experience.
And how do you feel about your Spanish now that you've been down there?
It definitely sharpened my
Dinos algo en español, por favor.
Sí, hablan español. ¿Él puede? ¿Puede? Explica.
Solo me puedo entender.
He's had Spanish since kindergarten. So his Spanish is pretty good. Te defendiste.
Sí.
You defended yourself.
But if you end up going down there, definitely go to. You should have put in the third. You have to have at least one El Presidente, and then you can do everything else. It was great. I appreciate the opportunity. God was great for allowing me to go and make an impact on these kids and do some work. And it was great to see the before and after. It was just really impressive, the amount of work that. How many? 20 people?
There were 15 of us.
Yeah, 15 really dedicated people can do a lot of work in only 7 days.
The buildings, the church was made out of concrete,
Cement blocks.
cement blocks.
And
then
did you-
stuck
And they
out.
didn't.
What?
Well, I was gonna say they didn't finish the roofs. They didn't put the ceiling on the roof, so the sun is so intense down there that it'll just eat away all the cementing agent of the concrete, and then you'd have these big craters in the roof, and we had to fill those in, and it was a lot. It was a lot of work.
So the roof wasn't leaking.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed, probably not, but there are little things shooting up off the roof. That's the rebar for the second floor, when they get the money together to do it. But there's a second thing to that. As long as your building is not completed, you don't have to pay taxes on it. There is a lot of rebar.
That's a good plan.
Well, Gunnar and Josh were wonderful, wonderful to have working with us and wonderful with the kids. They got out and played with them and carried them around. Yes, sir.
What's the greatest need for the next trip?
I don't know, but I'll tell you this, the Dominican Development Group is sending an exploratory, is having an exploratory trip in April, 24th to 29th of April, and I'm going to go on it. It's not a working mission. It's going to take us around the country to see, because there are a number of these churches, and to see if there's some particular place that catches our fancy, because I would really like to see several of us from here. We used to go, several of us went before on trips, and maybe we can come up with several people, or we can join another group. They have medical groups that go, they have construction groups that go, they have Bible school people that go. I'll tell you, this group from Florida was great. We had a lady in the diocesan headquarters who was working with the different groups, and she was telling us about some. And some are not quite as industrious. She had one that all they wanted to do was hand out vacation materials and go drink beer. I'm not kidding. She had a
She
hard
didn't
time.
mention Marvin's self, did she?
Is that development group, is that the same group that we donate
Yeah, this is a,
for the scholarship?
Thank you, Mary.
yeah, well, wait a minute. The Dominican Development Group, we do give the scholarships to, and I'll say one other thing. A scholarship to help a kid go through school for a year is $350. When we were in town shopping around, there are two gemstones that they have in the Dominican Republic. Larimar is one, which is a blue one. The other is amber. And I always wanted some amber earrings to go with a beautiful necklace that my father left me when he died. What I would have paid for those would have put 3 kids in school. I didn't buy them. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't in good conscience spend that kind of money. Okay, let me just finish. I have one little finishing paragraph. We worked very hard on this trip, and we hope that we gave these people a hand up and an awareness of how much we care for them. But whatever we gave, they gave us so much more. They really did. Because we got a glimpse of another culture, different customs, new foods, and for most, a different language. We met a hardworking people who had practically nothing but were making do in very ingenious ways. You ought to see some of their construction. we're not likely to take our lives for granted again, like Gunnar said. And we learn that hymn, Alabaré. Thank you. And thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Jake.